Homemade stock, you say? That's what we're going to be making today. I have collected roast chicken carcasses. One, two, three. I don't know if I can hold them all. Four. That's not a whole chicken. That's we'll call it 4.5. Five. And then I have a couple of just leftover. It's essentially leftover meat that we didn't. Leftover meat we didn't get to eat. That was super cool. From a couple of the roast chicken. So, long story short, we like to make roast chicken in my house. One of my favorite things to make and eat. But it's also amazing because we get this whole secondary use of stock, which I'd say for me mainly I use for my rice dishes, but you could use it with rice, pasta. I mean, there's really when I make chicken pot pie as part of the gravy, there's really no limitation, and this is gonna taste. I recently bought boxed chicken stock and tasted it, and it was kind of like it's like water with like the tiny sprinkle of chicken in. So this is going to be very flavorful. We can cook it down as much as we want to add to kind of bump up that chickeny flavor. But that's it. So a lot of this is going to be prep. It's going to cook for, honestly, I don't set a timer. I just let it go pretty much all day. So 6, 8 hours. Sometimes I'll start at night, let it go to the next morning. Um, there's really not a time you could cook this to, which would make it bad. There's a point where I think you're not going to really get further than you get, which again, after like 8 or 10 hours will be the case. So I have this. This was definitely a purchase made specifically for stock. I only use it when I do this. Um, Specifically for what you see. So way back when, my earlier years of my cooking journey, I probably would have one, maybe two carcasses. I didn't make the stock, and it would obviously be made in a much smaller pot, and we'd have less of it. Over the years, I just realized, like, why not just get a bigger one, make a huge batch? We'll get, trying to think, the last time I got about 20 cups in the end. Just remember, we're all this food material, all of the food's going to be strained out. We're going to get it nice and clean. Won't be perfect, but we'll strain it multiple times, and I'll say stick around to the end. So the first part right now is just going to be cutting up some veg, throwing all this chicken into the pot, putting some water in, and letting it cook. The second part will be letting it cool off in the fridge. We're going to skim off the fat. We'll save that. And that'll be a whole other spiel we'll get to later, and then we'll store it. So stick around for the second part because that's definitely really important. And otherwise, I'm just going to kind of talk through as I'm cutting. So what I would typically do, I guess let me just start with the basics. So we have our mirepoix, and in French cooking that is onions, and I have a white and a yellow sweet. I have a bunch of carrots, and I have celery. Interestingly enough, if I make half a batch, I'd probably use the same amount of veg. Not sure why I'm saying veg. I'd use essentially the same, maybe a little less carrot, a little less celery, one onion, but it's going to be pretty similar. So I say for you, one, anyone can do this. You just need the chicken carcasses, and you don't even need. You can go to the store and buy a bunch of chicken breasts, and that's nope. You could go to the store and buy drumsticks, chicken thighs. You could buy a roast chicken. You don't have, like, this is all dinners that we repurpose for the second, again, for the secondary part where we make stock and then use that for other dinners. But you could just go buy chicken or chicken parts and just throw it in. I've done that before as well. Something I didn't get a chance to do this time is go to the Asian market and get some chicken feet. Truthfully speaking, I've never once eaten the chicken foot, but there are tons of like fat and gelatin in them, so you just throw them in, and they'll just make the stock taste really good. I want it to be as chickeny as possible. However, if you're looking to have a really, this is not going to be light, like see through, perfect clarity. If you've watched enough food TV, you know what I mean. Sometimes the chicken is like beautiful and kind of like translucent. This is not that. This is going to be not dark, but it's not going to be light because again we've roasted all of the chicken, so we have all that roasting involved. That's going to darken the color. So just a quick note on that. Otherwise, what's great about this is the kind of the prep. The prep takes 10 or 15 minutes maybe, but it doesn't have to be pretty. And in that I mean We're not mincing. Let me rephrase. I'm not mincing. Basically, I'm just taking the onions. I'm going to take the skins off and then quarter them and throw them in pretty big chunks. Remember, this is going to cook for a while. So having it be perfect, again, rough chop for onions, perfect. What I would do is step I'm kind of working around is normally I'd have a pot on the stove, again, just for lighting purposes and kind of the prep part here. I'm not doing that, but I would have the pot on and I would put the onions in and let them kind of cook a little bit. Not getting them caramelized or anything like that, but just, I feel like it might add just a tiny bit of flavor. So anyway, onions are what I throw in first. I wouldn't say they take the longest to prep, but whoa. Okay, so that was a great lesson in stupidity. In case you missed that, my my large chef knife just fell off the countertop and onto the floor. You probably can't see this. You definitely can't, but I don't ever have shoes on in the house. We're definitely shouldn't say we. I have a strict shoes off at the door policy. Not everyone cares, but I try to enforce it. Anyway, I'm in my socks here, so when the knife falls off the counter, it's a little concerning initially. Anyway. All right, those are in, and actually I got a couple skins. It's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, this is pretty easy. It's almost rustic in a way. And yes, you see what I'm doing. There's no reason you can't do this as well. Just be careful as you get kind of lower. It is a bit awkward to hold. And I don't add the whole thing in with the celery. On point. If you cut these down more, let's say you didn't have all the time in the world, like I sometimes do, working from home, my normal job is definitely helpful in making a lot of the food I do, just because I can, put it on and go about my work and come back whenever. You could do this faster. I would just cut the vegetables up a lot smaller. So there's no right or I'd say there's no rhyme or no. There's no wrong way to do this. I think maybe a slightly better way. The longer you can simmer the stock, the better it's going to be in the end. But it is as simple as that. So hopefully you can see, probably not because it's a very weird angle, but I have all my veg in here. I don't know how much this weighs, but when it's full, it's probably going to weigh, and honestly, it might weigh like 50 pounds. It's massive. The next part's super easy. I have all these roast chicken carcasses and in freezer bags and Ziplocs. I'm just dumping them in. You'll see on the bottom of the bag there will be these clumps of fat. I try to get everything in. And just as a note, when I save my chicken carcasses, we save like every possible part. So we're saving the bones. We're saving the extra fat. Anything I can basically scrape off the pan or that we don't eat, where it's just part of the bird itself, gets saved. That includes the skin. We don't ever, no disrespect to chicken skin, yakitori is like one of my favorite things to eat. But this is a pretty healthy meal. So when I make roast chicken, we don't ever make it with the intent of eating the skin. Anyway, long story short, save the skin, throw them in here. You could even, in theory, save like if you did drumsticks on the grill, you could even save it. There's not a wrong way. I would just say save any don't waste anything that's chicken, and throw it in. Something I did. It's the February now, around after Thanksgiving. This is a crazy amount, by the way. I don't always have this much, but it is great to get to use this pot. Around Thanksgiving, we made a turkey breast. We're not crazy about turkey in our family. And sorry, I'll show you what I'm doing in just a second. Anyway, blathering on. I used the turkey breast in my last batch of stock, and it was a little too, I don't want to say potent, but something with the turkey added this element to the stock which made it it wasn't the best batch I've ever made, and I guess just for clarity, I probably made this at least a decade. I was actually shocked. This is almost a 5-year old pot. I thought I've had it for life flies by sometimes, I guess. So we have everything in except our water and some of our herbs. And a quick note here: this is Body of Brand again. It's not any kind of endorsement. This is super cheap at most kind of shop right around us. Not like a fancy market. This was maybe $1 or two. These herbs work great. So just because something might be cheap doesn't mean it's bad. And I do special order some of my herbs as well. But it was just a quick note for bay leaves specifically because this is the only recipe I use bay leaf for. Is my stock. Um, but when I go to make it every few months, there have been times like, oh crap, I don't have any. What do I do? So yeah, I just got this last, maybe a year or two ago. It's not brand new. Probably should replace it. It still works great. So just a quick note: you don't always have to get super expensive stuff to make it really fancy. Again, you're gonna make this. This will last. It could last months, honestly. Usually mine does, depending on how often you use it. And if you've never started, just try. So, like the best example is instead of making rice with water, even if it's just plain white rice, add a cup of stock. Switch that out. The difference in flavor will be, if you've never done it before, it's the difference in flavor is crazy. If you know what I'm talking about, yeah, you're probably nodding, hopefully. Um, so I have some bay leaf. Here's my herbs. Some kind of coarse Himalayan salt. I have some I guess black peppercorns, telecherries, and then I also have some herbes de Provence. And why I did try to remember all the 5 ingredients in them, I can't off the top of my head. So I'll just say that is one of the few spices I will special order just because it's really like a huge bag, and it's when I looked at the date, I've had it for like a year and a half already. Still works great. So we're full here. I'm gonna put this on the stove. Just gonna throw it on my chicken bags. Oh my god. Whew. Not the smartest behavior I've ever done. I just filled up a bowl and I have another large pitcher I'm gonna grab in a sec. Yeah. I don't know if you could see that, but I definitely poured. I poured the water in too quick and it went all over the oven, on the top of the stove. Anyway, that happens. And then this is just kind of our Brita. I think it's 18 cups. Um, That's just kind of what we use for our filtered water. Oh, no, this is not going to be enough. So I'm probably going to need a whole second one of these. Again, with the 20-quart stock pot, you want. Let me just bring it over to show you. So you could see the water is. You want it to be above all of the meat. So I'm basically going to put it up to where like the rivets are on the sides. And in the end, it's just going to end up giving us more stock. Hello. Yeah, I have a very small amount of clearance between my stove and the microwave, so there's it's like maybe 8 inches between when I use this huge pot. Anyway, you can hopefully see the water. I mean, you can already hopefully again even see like some of the fat that comes up as soon as I turn it on. I wanted to push all of the meat down. Sometimes it will kind of be higher than we want it to. Anyway, sorry. Not even a joke, just a dumb laugh. So that's it. I have my stove on medium. Actually, let's back up. So, why we kind of wait on this. So, at this point, it's almost noon. I'm going to just let this go all day, all night. I'm not going to let it cook all night. It doesn't need that. But I'm going to save the fun part for tomorrow. The next scene, if you will. So stick around, because there's always that interesting part of we just put all these chicken carcasses in here. We have all these vegetables. It's a lot of materials in here. What do we do to get rid of it? I was just sticking around because I've come up with kind of a ridiculous, we'll say fruity version because I'm kind of a dope at heart. So I hope you stick around. You get to see the rest of the process, and we'll see you in a little bit. POV cam. I forget things the second I turn the camera off. So one thing I didn't mention, we want the heat to be on medium. We don't want this to be boiling like you would water for pasta. We want it to simmer, which is essentially just a light boil. Because there is so much in here, and you could see it's a 20 quart pot. It's probably got 19, if not 19 and a half quarts of it full, or maybe an inch from the top of the pot at best. So again, that'll be a good marker to see as it cooks how it reduces. And I'll probably just do really quick updates as that goes. But this is going to take, if we don't rush the heat, it'll probably take an hour or two before it starts to simmer. So again, more to the point, just don't cover it. Don't put the heat super high, but sometimes you might want to turn it up in the beginning just to get things going. It's really up to you. But I would say just take your time. This is supposed to be a low and slow dish. And if you do it right, your house is going to smell great, at least according to me. And kids think it smells gross, but what the hell do they know? All right, so that was it. PS over. We'll see you in a bit. All right. Hey, everyone. We're back. It has been about 2 hours and 40 minutes. See, we got a nice simmer going. Good chunk of fat on the top if we lift that with our wooden spoon. And clearly the chicken has started to raise to the top. So periodically I'll just take, I like a long wooden spoon just because it's the longest, it's one of the longer instruments I have, and just begin to push down. It's not really a big deal. Like everything's obviously well cooked multiple times at this point, between the roasting initially of the chicken and then just being in here for 2.5 hours or a little more than that. Um, I don't think I'd eat the veggies yet, but a nice part of this is the end. We can save some of the carrots and just have some really yummy roasted chickeny carrots. Um, all right, so that's it. I'll probably pop back in a little while. I do not strain. I guess one when I'm stirring, I don't strain the fat. We will at the very, very end, but I just kind of let it go. I don't also skim any of the kind of the gook that rises to the surface because we'll strain everything out at the end. So we won't have any of that. That's it. I'm see you in a couple hours. All right, we're back. It's been another 2 hours, about 4 hours, 45 minutes total. You can see we've had maybe like almost an inch of total reduction. It's not much for being such a long amount of time, but again, we'll let this go for a while. Eventually, it will go down more, and then we'll strain it. We'll probably reduce it a little more after that, and then we'll store it, and then we'll be done. All right, hey everyone, we're back. You can see the time. It's not just about 8 o'clock at night, so this has been going for about 8 hours. If we look, again, everything's based on the rivet height. I'd say we're down about 2 inches. I might get the tape measure out to measure. But this is kind of where we want to be. I'm probably going to turn the stove off at this point. Also, just so you can see what the simmer I'm using looks like at least. Um, I don't know how much more it's going to cook down. At this point, it's probably going to be, just how much more I want to reduce it. So for tonight, I'm just going to turn off the heat. I'm going to put a lid on it, and then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll do the dreaded straining and cleanup and storage. So we'll see you tomorrow. Hey everyone, it is bright and early, 6:26 a.m. the next day, and what I really just wanted to show you is that you obviously can't tell what I'm doing, but the pot is still nice and warm. So when I came down this morning, and obviously I get up pretty early, this is the first thing I check, because if the pot was completely cooled, it would concern me in that I didn't do something right, and I don't know that I want to keep the stock. So a big tip would just be, if you're going to do a huge batch on the stove and cover it, make sure it's warm enough that it's not going to go to below. You don't basically want to ruin all the work we just spent. So keep that in mind. You might want to store it in the fridge, not the end of the world, or possibly start it earlier in the morning, like starting it now would probably have made more sense, and then just cook it throughout the day and just get it done, finish the final steps in it. Sorry, I can't talk. It's early. My cat's whining. All right, that's that. We're gonna let it sit for a while more, and then we'll come back and we'll do the cleaning up and the straining and the storage. All right, we are back. You can see you got a nice layer of fat, and it's hard to get like a real good angle, just the way the light is, but there's probably like a good inch of fat. That will likely change as we start to, say, excavate all of the ingredients, all of the cooked veg and chicken bones out. So we're gonna do that next. All right, so this is the worst part of making this, for sure. And again, I'll say for me, this is 20 quarts of liquid, or it was. Um, you need a large vessel or multiple ones to dump out all the items in. So would it be smarter to use a small pot and maybe do this one or two chickens at a time? The cleanup would be easier, but it'd be just as annoying. Anyway, it is what it is. So I have, certain things I have that I use for everything, and certain things I have that I use for only one thing. So we have a chinois here, which is just a fancy strainer. You can see it's kind of like, I want to say like diamond shaped almost, but it kind of comes down, so like kind of a funnel. And then I have this, I guess it's a 12 quart, 12 liter, whatever, plastic container. So essentially, we're going to take everything out carefully, put it in the chinois, and just repeat. Now, the tricky thing is, I would love to just lift this up. It's not to say I can't, but it's got to weigh at least 40 pounds. And just imagine if you slip, if you mess up, you're going to have all this fatty, gross liquid all over your house. Not to say we haven't had some incidents. I'm quickly reminded of, we had these little like circular ball sprinkles. One of the kids opened the top and hundreds of them went everywhere. We were finding them like a year later. Anyway, this would be annoying on a different level. And once we do have most of the chicken and veg out of here, we might be able to actually lift the pot up and just drain the liquid. But again, we want to be careful. Most likely, I'm going to end up filling the chinois a couple of times. My method for dumping it out is going to be pretty entertaining. Well, it's entertaining to me. Whether you think it's entertaining is up for debate. And this will get very heavy. So I've learned over time, just, I don't know if it's the chinois itself, the metal grips are incredibly uncomfortable. So even if I have my right hand, which is my more dominant one, it kind of like cuts into your skin. So it is best, I found, just to do exactly what we're doing. We'll fill it up, dump it out, we'll repeat. And I say annoying in the sense that, we probably worked, we started this yesterday, between all the chicken, all the roasting, and then just all of the cooking of the stock itself. We put at least 10 hours into this, so we don't want to mess it up. I know the stock is going to last probably a good 2 or 3 months. It just depends how often we're making the dishes that we typically use the stock in. But we are reaching a point where we're going to have to figure out, God, this is so, it's really awkward because of the way it's just kind of comes to a point at the bottom, so it's hard to kind of keep it still. It's also interesting, the pan, the liquid in the pan has probably dropped at least 4 or 5 inches as I start to pull everything out. And so what I'm definitely realizing I'm going to need to do is my usual, it's a bit ridiculous, but it is effective. Bear with me one sec. So we have a couple options here. One, if you live in a place, if you have like an HOA or an apartment building, you could just throw all this in a trash can, take it to the dumpster, and be done with it. I would just be cautious because it will be heavy and it will be wet. I don't have that luxury, and especially if it's a few days before the trash is going to be collected, this can get pretty gross and stinky. So what I've learned to do, I live next to a creek. That's not foreshadowing, I don't know what it is. And so essentially, we're gonna give our little woodland critters a bunch of snacks. So what I will do, oh my god, this is so freaking heavy. So what we need to do is we can't just run through the house with this, with the shit wad, because even though it's not dripping a ton, it is dripping. So what we're going to do, kind of still debating how I'm going to film it, is I'm just going to pick this up, take it outside, and dump it next to the creek. And let's just repeat the exact same thing. All right, so give me 1 second. All right, we are on location. It is cold and kind of gross. We have our leftovers. Simple as that. So, all right, we're done. Sorry, I can't see. In case my eyes look like they're completely shut. All right, we're basically just gonna do that a second time. So stand by. All right, let's. It's not light. I think I can do it. I mean, to say I'm not nervous, I'm going on the side just for safe. I'm seeing some splashing, but I think we got it. And the issue is sometimes there's just so much liquid. Remember, we used a lot. We also wouldn't be a bad idea to put a towel down just because of the drips from the stock itself. Sorry. I'm cold, I'm out of breath. I would say I'm frazzled, but yeah, this was stock was great. You can see there is a lot. And if you look close, even though it's still kind of it's shaking, you can see there's probably I'm trying to eyeball it. There's probably like a good quart of fat, which is awesome. Um, the defatting part is one of my favorites of this controversial terminology, perhaps, but uh, yeah. Anyway, I think we're good to do the rest. It's gonna be close, and by that I just mean one. Shoot. That's exactly why we did it the slow way, because there's a lot of between the stock itself and just leftover fat. That was slick. See that with the forearm? I can't believe that worked. Um, Again, this is not the time we want to mess up, although it's not even to say we're completely done. I'm going to try to get. Sorry. I think it's hard to see with me shaking right in front of my face, but that's the best angle. And if I didn't mention, that was not easy. I know I mentioned I hate this part, but when we're done in a few minutes, well, this is completely bad. When we're done, it definitely will be. I'm debating if I'm saying it definitely will be worth it. Now, it will for sure. I mean, I've never made this and thought what a waste. So again, same thing we did. Oh, this is significantly lighter. Although again, very, very uncomfortable to hold. And not that I'm the toughest guy in the world, because that is. I'm absolutely not. But this is, yeah, it kind of digs into your hand. Very uncomfortable. This one's not so bad just because there's so much less in it. We got it! Woo! So just so you can see the inside, not 100% cleaned out, but not bad. All right, let's go for another trip outside. Wrap this up. I'm going to say wrap up with a minor caveat. We're not done yet. Sorry, let's pause. I unfortunately can't do a selfie because there's just no way I can hold that pot with one arm. It's just way too big. Clean up, almost complete. All right, hey everyone, we're back again. So as I mentioned, we could stop there. I like to do this next step just to make it as clean. I wouldn't say clear because you're not going to see through the stock, but I want to get out as many of the impurities as possible. So for that, I have cheesecloth. It's another one of those items I don't really use for any, I don't have a lot of uses for. Stock is the one. If I'm doing like potato latkes, I use that to squeeze all the, you gotta, yeah, I can't squeeze, I gotta squeeze all of the moisture out of the potatoes. So normally in doing this with making such a large batch, I have seen over time that I typically need to do it twice. In other words, the cloth will get just so covered in everything that, yeah, I need to replace it. So I have a second one ready. And this is again, I'm debating if I call this the final step. We're getting there. The final step would be we actually put the liquid in the containers and into the freezer. So we're maybe 2 steps removed from that. And I guess just to, so we're gonna pour this. We're gonna clarify it as best we can. We're probably gonna have to pour some of it into a second vessel just because it's in here already. It's not all gonna fit in this one. Um, and then we'll have to let it sit in the fridge. Again, I usually do overnight just to let everything solidify. We'll get all the fat to the top, and then tomorrow we'll be able to kind of finish finally. So I'm gonna take a chance and try to do this. It's still a little hot. This seems like a terrible idea, but good thing we're. I don't know. No, I'm gonna be smart. Well, I hate to use an extra dish. I just think for the moment, I'm going to put this into a 4-cup measuring container, and it'll just be a lot, I don't want to say idiot proof, but there's less chance I'm going to mess up or make a huge spill. So one of the things like I like this part is because you'll see all of like the herbs and some of that fat, anything that would have came to the surface, like that bubbled up, those white bubbles that we could have skimmed off. We basically get rid of that here. But it is a little tedious. It's annoying. Like I said, I kind of hate this part. Using a 4-cup measuring, this is definitely a good method to do just because it's going to go quick. And if we had 10 or 11 quarts, 4 cups is a quart. We'll have to do this 10 times, but you can see it's going pretty fast. This is, I think, the 4th one already. It sometimes can be just a question of how long the cheesecloth will hold. And just to kind of, if you probably can see a little bit, but basically there'll be a point where it just won't contain any more liquid. It'll stop dripping. It'll stop straining as quickly. And that's kind of usually the signal to go on to the next one. I am confident. Yeah, ooh, this is much lighter now. That was actually much easier, and I was able to get her right in the middle of the pot with the chamois. Again, the question now comes, is everything actually going to come out? Because it's getting, there's a healthy amount of liquid still in there. So sometimes what I notice, I'll spin it around as much as I can. I don't have a spoon or a ladle handy. We could always use that to kind of push down the liquid and help kind of push it through. I'll try this. Unusual, but effective. I'm also trying to be a huge baby and not touch this because it's going to be all fatty and gross, and I hate getting my hands super nasty. Which I know is kind of hilarious for someone that's in the kitchen all the time, but true nonetheless. Now, this actually worked pretty well. So I was able to get the slotted spoon in and just definitely breaking it. Anyone else break all of their equipment on a regular basis? I've had certain things like the kitchen scale I've had for I've had pots and pans, certain things for like 10 or 15 years. And then I have kind of the other stuff, which like rubber spatulas and the handheld things like this, where you could clearly see it's been pretty thorough. All right, so the next question I have for me is what I should put this in. I just so happen to have, this is kind of like I'm going to use a pot that I don't care to mess up, throw in the dishwasher. It's this one here. So again, this one is almost more tricky because the chinois is so much larger than the pot itself. So again, very, very, sometimes it'll happen. pardon me, look at my back, where basically the stock can go like behind the claw, essentially means you're not getting it at all. Yeah, that's clearly not what we want. I'm trying to see if I can get all the liquid in and then adjust. So just wait. And if you couldn't tell, another annoying aspect of this are a lot of dishes. God, what's going on? So almost done. We're gonna get our slide spoon again. And I'm very happy right now because, again, I mentioned how much I dislike this part. I will do this till I can't. You know, this is a great process, and the stock that comes from it, always worth it. But again, it's a lot of work, as you see. Okay, we are done. I'm saying we're done. And then the last question I have with myself is, do I want to put both of these back into my larger container here? The issue is it's not perfectly strained. I really don't want to do it again. So I think we're going to stop with that. So we're going to call this quits. I'm going to put these in the fridge somewhere. I don't know how I'm going to fit them, and we'll kind of go from there. We are almost at our final step, so we will see you. It will be the next day because I'm going to put these in the fridge so the fat can solidify, but almost there. We're back. I don't know what's going on here. I love the way that my tiny little I don't want to use hair like singular. I could see them standing up in the light. Interesting element as well. A recent video, my wife said, "Boy, where's all your hair?" I said, "I feel like that looks like it always looks like that in the video." And she said, "No, believe it or not, you're not that bald." Now, I'm not going to show you the back of my head or the top because that would just make me sad. I am balding for sure, but it was a little comforting to hear. I don't know if it's the lighting or what, but yeah, anyway. Did you care? Probably not. Am I gonna leave it in the video? Yeah, sure, why not? Alright, so anyway, we're back. I'm trying to do this in one shot. Definitely gonna, I don't know why I tell you I'm gonna speed it up. I'm just gonna do it, so we'll see what's gonna happen next. I'm just gonna start acting like a total jackass. We'll see if it makes the videos any better. Anyway, we are at the tail end of our stock. I was gonna say our stock party. It's definitely not a party. Actually, I probably like it doing it just as much as I like going to parties. So screw it. It's a stock party. That means we can't wait to be done and go do something else that we like. Anyway, I don't know what my deal is today. All right, just to show you what we're working with here now, it would be nice if I had this in that massive, I think it's 12-liter container I have, just because it would all fit. But hopefully you get the kind of the point here. So the top you could see is yellow. This one's a little more yellow than this. And it basically just means this has more fat on the top we're going to scrape off. And you'll see me do that momentarily. So I think because if you recall, you're watching the video, it's been 10 seconds. For me, it's been like 3 days. So if I recall, don't mind me. If I recall, this was the second pot. So most of the fat probably did come out in the first one. And it doesn't require, it's not a murder investigation or anything. Just when I see things that don't match exactly, it makes me curious. So here's both the good and the bad part of what's about to happen here next. Is that I've never done this without making somewhat of a mess, but I'm happy to say, shout out to my brother. I've been cooking a lot longer than he has, but he was like, I don't know if he mentioned it to me, but basically just to suggest him to use these for he actually said, "Oh, have you ever made stock?" And this was maybe like a few months back. Love you, John, for listening. I was like, yeah, probably have been making it for over a decade, like, truthfully. And he showed me the pictures, and I was like, oh my God, why have I never done that? So, I mean, literally for a decade, let's say conservatively 40 times I've made stock. I just have portioned it. I actually want to show you because it's so ridiculous. It bears to show. Let's see if I have it back close. So I have my scale here. I would put a cup on the top, put a bag in, and then essentially scoop the stock into the bag, take the bag out, move on to the next one. Or at one point, I would actually have 5 or 6 cups all with bags, and I would do that several times. Needless to say, that is just ridiculous and extremely inefficient to say the least. So, yeah, gotta give credit where it's due. Sometimes you learn something new you never thought of or you just never considered doing. If you make stock, get these, or even better yet, I started. I'm super cheap if I haven't said, like I said, every video, but I like to spend as little as possible, and that's why one of the reasons I cook. Your food can be better and be cheaper. Anyway, spiel aside, I've been saving these from like Chinese food or wherever I get them, and yeah, they work great. They're just you can put them in. Yep. What the hell is wrong with me today? I like to say I was partying late because the Eagles won, but no, and I don't like football. Although I am from Philly and live in pretty close. Anyway, my brain is just not firing on all cylinders today. So we're gonna use these. Super easy. You pop one on the scale. I'm gonna get a measuring cup, and I basically just kind of take out what I think. Boop. Um, and that's that. So I'll show you the first couple, and then we'll speed it up because it will just be a lot of repeat. So let's talk fat. One of the best parts of making this is getting the chicken fat, and just pulling out my last batch or vat. You can see it's frozen, so it's orangey. This is also chicken fat, but you can see the colors are very different. I wonder if this one's duck stock. Story on that one later. It doesn't really smell. It smells chickeny to me. I don't know. Sometimes you just don't know. This could have had maybe like more of a, I don't know, could have had more fat from like a roasted chicken, so it's a little darker. Anyway, just wanted to show you. These I will store in Ziplocs just because I don't get too much. But the whole point being, again, shout out to the ancestors on this one. I saved the chicken fat to make potato latkes. Um, it's freaking amazing. I mean, it's obviously not good for you, but frying potatoes in oil is not probably much better. Coincidentally, I think it was the second video I made. It's not, they get better as you go. Long story short, saving the fat is really worth it. Even if I only do this like once or twice a year. But the potato latkes, I mean, you could use it for any potato dish, honestly. I always say the same thing. It tastes chickeny. Just because the stock the flavor is so concentrated from being in there. So, all right, we've talked a lot. These are I wouldn't say 16 ounces. I think they are. I think these are 16 and these are 32. But no, I want to. You know what? Based on everything I've just said and done, and again, it's afternoon. I've been like this all day for some reason. Um, you know what? Exhale. Everyone with me? Slow down. Normally I feel like I'm very calm in my videos, even when things are going wrong. Today I'm just kind of all over the place. Anyways, so what we're gonna do now, the scale's not necessary for the fat, for the fat part. Put that on a pillow somewhere. um, this part's pretty easy. I have a better video where I actually do scrape this. I think that was one of the very few I posted on Instagram. I'm talking to you from afar. Here's a little. I'm going to move the camera so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So it's fun to talk to you. I can still do that while I'm moving around. So I basically have a spatula, and you can do this. There's not really any wrong way. It's not that much. So I'm just like very gently. Hopefully you can see that. Not how gentle I am. It's not usually how I would describe myself. I'm actually kind of clumsy. Anyway, I'm just scraping the fat off as best as I can. It's not going to be perfect. And actually, I think the one nice part, ooh, that's a good one. One nice part of doing this from the larger 12-liter container is you're just going to have a really, like you can see me. Hello. You're going to have, I'm going to start doing these weird angles now. You're going to have a thicker layer of fat, and it's just a lot easier to scrape off. So unfortunately for us, for right now, that means we have not only this pan but the other one. And I should say it's challenging to get just the fat. So it's challenging to get only the fat. In other words, it's just you're gonna get a little bit of the stock, and that's okay. It is it's kind of interesting looking. I love when it doesn't come out the way it always does when I'm making a video. I never test ahead of time because that would be unfun. I like to kind of deal with the chaos as it's happening because I feel like you're gonna learn more that way. So anyway, we're gonna do this. We're gonna rinse and repeat, scrape and repeat. Try not to get this on anything because it's basically straight fat. I have my cup and my look, see that dancing? So that looks awesome. That just means we did a really good job. And I have the other pot over there. Honestly, for the video purposes, I'm probably not even gonna include that one in. Just wanted to show you that light layer of fat on there. But the shakiness means we have a lot of gelatin. Basically means we did our job really well. Time to talk a little trash on a TV show I love. So I don't know if any of you watch PBS, and wow, that makes me sound like I'm 100 years old. PBS is the best cooking shows. So if you haven't ever checked them out on Saturday, I've been watching them since I started cooking, and I've learned a ton. They make great stuff. It's honestly kind of the vibe I want from this channel. I'm trying to figure out how to add a little more humor because I'm kind of a dope most days. Why you also learn something. Haven't cracked the code on that, but I'm thinking about it. Anyway, I love those shows. That's kind of like what I want my channel to be mirrored after. There's several that are just really good, and over the years, some come, some go. Not every show's on forever. But what was the point? Oh, the point was they recently put out a video on homemade stock, and I was really surprised because it's kind of like a from scratch channel. They're not using weird stuff most of the time. But I was really surprised they used gelatin for the mixture, and that was a very long way of getting to. If you have enough bones and you do it right, and again, they're professional cooks. It's that America's Test Kitchen itself has been on for I don't know, like 20 some years. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. It's not going to get much better than that. To do the little fat dance, if you will. This is becoming very tedious. All right, you got me again. I learned if I sit down, I feel like I'm 8 feet tall. I don't know if it's my table. Today's apparently stand-up comedy routine. Uh, I work on this island. I'm sure no one's laughing, but that's fine. I'm having fun. Um, our prep area. I'm gonna sit back and relax for a moment. Our prep area is our island essentially, and it's definitely taller than I think a dining room table would be. I'm not super tall. I'm like 5'10", 5'11", but for some reason, it is very hard to get both me and the table in one shot. Um, so anyway, why am I telling you this? I don't know. Why am I sitting back like it's therapy? Also, not really sure, but I guess this is going to be my off the wall video. All right. Anyway, let's jump back in. I'm calling the I'm calling the fat done, and I'm kind of disappointed because we still have a fair amount in here. But scraping it off, I could work at this for another 10 minutes, and the difference is probably going to be a tablespoon or two worth. It's really not worth it. I'm fine when I do my stock to put a little fat in it. I mean, that's not really the goal, but a little bit's just going to add flavor. And this isn't like, the fat is the tiniest little proportion spread out all over this. It'll be just fine. So, all right. Here is like the actual annoying part, if we could say there was one. I'm going to clean this up. I mean, in the bag, it looks pretty good. On that note, we're going to reconfirm 1 cup of stock in these. And also to make sure I'm not losing my mind that it actually is 1 cup. So, I mean, again, simple. I have a dish towel down because inevitably this is going to drip a little bit. I've never done it super clean. Oh, this is 16 ounces. Okay. So Made a mess of the scale. Got the weight messed up in the cup. That's fine. So we did clarify, at least on a good note. This is 16 ounces. And you say it's. I mean, I'm just pouring it in. I'd say if there's any technique involved here, it's just trying to not get the side of the measuring cup too gross, because once that happens, it'll start dripping. Like, I don't know if you can see close enough, but the scale has a bunch of drips on it at this point. So that's kind of the one area I'm trying to be a little careful. So I'm going to go for 16. Some of these I'm going to do 16, some I'm going to do 8. Whatever the, if anyone from overseas watching, sorry, I don't know the conversions off the top of my head. I also will plan to wash the dish towel. It's just going to get gross. I also sometimes will go a little over, not always intentionally. So this is basically it's 1 pound and 0.6 ounces. So it's like half an ounce over what I'd want. But that's okay. Sometimes when you cook it down, you'll lose a little. Sometimes it's hard to get every last little drop out when you're done. And that's that. So I don't usually, let me finish one completely, and then I'll show you one more, and then we'll just hit super speed. Do I really need to show you how to put a lid on a container? Probably not. But there you go. So done. I can say, I'm going to wipe the scale off. This is infinitely neater than the Ziploc bag version, because at least with these containers, it's a wide mouth. The Ziploc bags and kind of they can fall off the cup. If you put too much in too quick, they can fall in. It just tends to make a really big mess. So I do remember I've only done this, I think, once or twice since I've gotten these. But I do remember the last time thinking this was the cleanest it's ever been when I've done the process. And again, we still had to go through, dumping all the stock out. I have a great surprise at the end, actually. A little unintended fun consequence. Maybe not a consequence, not the right word. A little fun nature video from the stock dumping, and maybe you can figure out where I'm going with this. So anyway, this one I'm going to do 8 ounces. Try to get closer. And again, I'd say the goal is, can't believe I'm so off. The goal is really just to minimize everything on the outside of here. So when you move over, it's more of a clean pour. Otherwise, it's pretty easy. But again, I've said many times with this, I really don't love doing this. I love having the stock because without doubt, it's better than anything you get in a store. But it is definitely a process, quote unquote. Uh, Everything after, I'd say, once it's done, the process becomes not fun. Everything up to that's great. Yeah, and I'm getting way too picky here. Like I'm at 7.9, not perfect enough. Also, that's somehow now it's at 8. Again, a little extra is not going to hurt. And we're done. So we're going to go quick now. I won't force you to, I don't know. If anyone wants to see me do every one of these individually at normal speed, go for it. But I know when I'm editing these, it's painful to watch. So I'm just going to kind of zip these ahead. I'll show you the end result. Maybe we'll have a little drink, and that'll be that. So stay tuned. Chiming in real quick. So if you pour too much in, especially if you're trying to go for 1 cup, I'm just kind of making it super easy. I'm just going to make those the 2 cup versions. And again, not an again. I don't think I've said this. So for the first time, as you're making the stock, think about what you're using it for. So I know for us, sometimes I make 1 cup of rice. That means 1 cup of stock. Sometimes I make 2. It just really depends on the day. If someone wants extra for work or for school or whatever. School. Yeah, my kids aren't taking my rice to school. Anyway, that's an easy way to kind of get around the mistake. Because I don't know if you could see, I was kind of trying to go faster, which worked for like 1 or 2, and then it did not. All right. Well, I'm happy to say we're almost done one pan hot. I don't know why I can never keep those two things straight. Um, as you get to the bottom, and carefully, I just kind of trying to use my rubber spatula and just scrape everything together and then dump it in. That's not everything. Flex his guns. All right. One. It's only 8.6. Damn. I thought we were going to get 4 cups out of that. Oh well. Oh, done. Oh, God. On to the next one. This is becoming painful. So what kind of can happen now? Again, for me, my patience is definitely tested. We're 25 minutes into doing this. And it does take some time. I will definitely start to make larger batches as I go. And I think even for this, with the fat, yeah. So my patience is officially gone. So, ooh, this is super jiggly. It is awesome. I mean, saying that, it just makes me happy because you know you did it perfect. So this is a 4 cup container, or a quart. All right, we are gonna do our final tally. I don't know if I'm excited or almost annoyed and strangely annoyed that I had so much, but also pretty relieved that we're done. Let's do. Oh man, tried to make it symmetrical, did not work out. Okay. All right, happy to say we are just about done. I'm not gonna make you watch me put lids on these, but we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 8. Wait, really good in math too. Clearly, 8, 12, 16, 20, 21, 33, 34. Wow, that might 30, 34 cups in total. That honestly might be the most I've ever made. I'm still shocked that I had to use so many containers. Um, yeah, significant amount to say the least, but again, it came out perfect, so I'm not really upset other than just having so much and not knowing what to do with it. I thought to end on, because normally my recipes I like to try and give you my reaction when I taste something. I just put a little in the microwave for like 10 seconds and just thought might as well get to actually see the fruits of our labor. Mmm. Oh my God. I don't know if it's been a long time since I've drank that just straight, but I mean, I guess the best way to describe it tastes exactly like chicken soup. So again, job well done. Um, I need to get the hell out of here and stop making this video. So, cut. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you at the next. Oh no, no! Stop the presses. So I can't believe I actually forgot this. I know I mentioned it through the video, but I have to end on this note, which is so to kind of show the whole evolution, microcosm. I don't even know what you call it. Cooking system. We start with a chicken. We roast it. It's, again, one of the best things I make without any question and one of the easiest. Once we get enough chickens, we make our stock. So, again, this costs less than $10 to make because the money was spent on the chicken dinner. Saving the carcass is just extra. You're not throwing it out. So, I mean, I wouldn't say like I paid $15 for a chicken and then if I have 4 chickens in here, this costs $60 because that's just not accurate. This is essentially like what we're getting from leftovers, which again is why it's amazing both that we can do it and get this, but it's also amazing in that it's just a super high quality product. So anyway, we have our chicken. We roast a bunch of them. We then make our stock. There's really no limitations to what you can use the stock for, but again, you've heard me mention I've used this to make rice as long as I can remember. You can just use water for kind of like a Chinese restaurant plain steam rice. Again, it's going to taste exactly like that. Use the stock, you immediately get that bump up of flavor, and I have a rice video as well. I feel like I'm promoting all my other stuff, but in all seriousness, that is one of the best things I make. That's what I'm making tonight, my Hainanese rice. And it's essentially just rice with shallot, garlic, and ginger, a little sesame oil, and some stock. And it's just like, it's, I don't want to keep saying everything's amazing, mind blowing, but some things I make are good. Like the rice dish, it's amazing for how simple it is too. It's crazy. So anyway, all right. I honestly can't believe how long to talk about freaking stock. So we're gonna say officially cut. Thank you. I'm gonna kind of cool down as I sign off. Thank you. Appreciate you watching. Um, I would love to hear from anyone that's tried to make anything from any of my videos. One person said they were gonna try. That's about as far as I've gotten, but yeah, I'm making these both for you, for me. A lot of it is, I'm still going on here. Oh my goodness. Long story short, a lot of my purpose in this is kind of like family cookbook. So instead of giving a cookbook to my kids if they care or, whomever, um, whoever might come down the line that's interested in food and wants it, kind of like a family heirloom. But like, oh, I got YouTube. Why not make a video? So it's not just me, it's not my words in a book. You actually get to see and hear me, which I think is really cool. I have nothing like that from any of my relatives. Not that any of them were really well versed in the kitchen by any means. My uncle's a really good cook, but not, none of the grandparents, I would say. But how cool would it be if, in 20, 30, 50 years, you get to see your grandparent making food, especially if they were a lot younger and going on their spiel. You really get to see what someone's like. So anyway, if you still are watching, thank you. I must be somewhat entertaining, or I know I'm entertaining myself, and that's usually my goal in life. So I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you for watching so much, and we'll see you at the next one. Take care.